They didn't just make a sitcom, they built a legend. Fawlty Towers turned John Cleese, with co-creator Connie Booth and a pitch-perfect cast, into comedy royalty. It ran for only 2 short series, 6 episodes each. In 1975 and 1979, just 12 in total. Yet, it won awards, drew millions, and is still hailed as one of the funniest TV shows ever. And as with most great TV, what happened off-camera was as gripping as what made the final cut. Inspired real-life chaos, risky stunts, prickly creative battles, astonishing attention to craft, and even a broadcast controversy that later saw an episode pulled, then restored after public outcry. Here's the full story. From the hotel's real-life roots, to the wobbly walls, the writing wars, and the goofs fans now cherish. When BBC Two aired the first series in 1975, followed by the second in 1979, the setup looked simple. A small seaside hotel in Torque, Devon, run by a combustible, snobbish proprietor forever on the verge of a meltdown. Basil, Fawlty Towers, is tense, rude, aspirational, and out of his depth. His wife Sybil, the incomparable Prunella Scales, is brisk, bossy, and far more practical. Polly Sherman Booth is the calm problem solver who quietly holds everything together. And Manuel, the late Andrew Sachs, the Ghouls' Spanish waiter, mangles English and expectations in equal measure. The comedy lives in their efforts to keep the doors open while sparring with awkward guests. It's a flaky tradesman, and Basil's own volcanic pride. On screen, it looked effortless. At home, it became a phenomenon. Those 12 half hours rewired British Forest for television and made these characters immortal. But the spark that lit Basil Fawlty began years earlier. In a very real hotel in May 1970, Monty Python stayed at the Glen Eagles Hotel in Torquay, run by Donald Sinclair, the man Clay later called the rudest man I've ever met. Sinclair scolded Terry Gilliam for American table manners, threw Eric Idle's briefcase out of a window, fearing it might be a bomb, and generally treated the Pythons like a nuisance. Asked who would bomb a hotel, he reportedly replied, "We've had a lot of staff problems." A waitress, Rosemary Harrison, remembered him as bonkers and unsuited to hospitality. Cleese and Booth stayed on after the others left, taking notes. Out of Sinclair's snobbery and suspicion, Basil Fawlty was born. Years later, in 2015, the Glens building was demolished. A retirement home called Sachs' Lodge honoring Andrew Sachs, who died in 2016. Rose on the site, a neat nod to the show's history and heart. Cleese wasn't new to the idea. He had already toyed with a cantankerous hotelier in 1971 on Doctor in the House. No ill feelings. But when he and Booth submitted the first Fawlty Towers script to the BBC, it was rejected as full of cliched situations and stereotypical characters. Even the head of comedy, Jimmy Gilbert, advised, "You're going to have to get them out of the hotel." John Cleese disagreed. "It's in the hotel that the whole pressure cooker builds," and carried on. Time proved him right. The series won BAFTAs for Best Scripted Comedy in 1976 and 1980 with Clay, also winning Best Entertainment Performance in 1980. In 2000, the British Film Institute ranked it number 1 on its list of 100 greatest British TV programs. In 2001, Channel 4 named Basil number 2 among 100 greatest TV characters, just behind Homer Simpson. Radio Times crowned it the greatest British sitcom in 2019, and the BBC itself has called it the British sitcom by which all others must be judged. Citing not only don't mention the war, but endless rewatch value. Clay later admitted the perfection came at a price. "Connie and I used to spend 6 weeks writing each episode. He said he earned about $6,000 for 43 weeks and survived financially by doing commercials. Without those ads, he couldn't have afforded to polish the script so hard." Although set in Torque, no filming took place there. The hotel exterior was shot at the Woburn Grange Country Club in Buckingham. Ain't you? The name Boardgate is visible in episodes like The Kipper and The Corpse, The Anniversary, and Basil the Rat. The building later became a nightclub called Basil, then burned down in 1991 and was demolished. Today, it's a housing estate. Other exteriors came from around Harrow. Northwick Park Hospital appears in the opening of The Germans. The scene in Gourmet Night, where Basil thrashes his broken-down car with a tree branch, was filmed at a T-junction on Lapstone Gardens. The exterior for Andre's restaurant, also Gourmet Night, was on Preston Road. It's now a Chinese-Indian restaurant called Wings beside a laundrette. Inside, the magic was in the drafts. Booth has said Cleas largely handled dialogue while they shaped stories together. Episodes sometimes took 4 months and up to 10 drafts. The other secret weapon was the cut. Cleas often explained why the show feels so densely funny. A standard BBC half-hour script might be 65 pages. Fawlty Towers scripts ran 135,140, where most shows used about 200 edits. Fawlty used roughly 400. They spent 20-25 hours editing each episode. Almost every minute you see, we spent 1 hour editing, Cleese said, snipping repetitions, tightening pauses, shaving lines to keep the rhythm snappy. That relentless trim gave the farce its musical timing. Even the music carried character. The theme by Dennis Wilson, played by the Iolon Quartet, was originally requested to be performed badly to match the hotel's shambolic charm. In the end, they played it properly and perfectly. Home video kept the series alive. In 1984, BBC Video released for VHS tapes, 3 episodes each, bunching the credits at the end. A 1993 US Laserdisc stitched all episodes into one continuous feature. A 1994 digital remaster followed, then another in 1997, with a Clay interview. By 2001, the complete series hit DVD in multiple regions, later in collector's editions. The first DVD release of The Kipper and the Corpse accidentally cut Basil's bedside question to Mr. Lemon. Is it your legs? Restored in later remasters, Series 1 even turned up on UMD for the PSP in 2009. BBC America issued Fawlty Towers Remastered Special Edition with Clay commentary on every episode. The show is purchasable on Amazon Prime Video and iTunes in the UK, and as of 2021 streamable on BBC iPlayer. Not all returns were smooth. In 2020, an episode was pulled, then put back with a warning. The Germans is a classic and a flashpoint. The episode includes an anecdote from Major Gowan containing racist slurs. As platforms reevaluated older material in 2020, UK TV, owned by the BBC, removed the episode. Clablasa the decision as cowardly and contemptible, arguing the show mocks offensive attitudes rather than endorsing them. Like Till Death Us Do or All in the Family, where the bigot is the joke. After debate, UK TV reinstated the episode with a content warning. The BBC had already aired a cut version in 2013, and again in 2021, to fit a 7:30 p.m. family slot. Citing changed public attitudes since the 1970s, today both series stream in Australia on Stand. The love endures. The context evolves. Not everyone swooned at launch. The Daily Mirror in 1975 ran Long John Short on jokes. Richard Ingram's in The Spectator panned it. Klett cheekily repaid the favor by naming a guest Mr. Ingrams, later found with a blow-up doll. Meanwhile, the Sunday Times called it the funniest sitcom in years. Clive James said he was reading with laughter, and The Guardian's Peter Fiddick called it the undoubted hit. The Daily Mail begged for a repeat on BBC One. As the years rolled on, accolades piled up. BFI DeBrist won 2000 Britain's Best Sitcom. Ner5 2004 second only to Frasier in a 2006 writer poll. Basil voted Britain's funniest TV character on Channel. 5 TV Guide ranked The Germans D. Prier 12 among 100 greatest episodes 1997. And Empire placed the series number. Arshar among Ibide greatest TV shows. 2024 inside the BBC, early memos were brutal. One exec, allegedly, wrote very boring situation, nothing but very cliched characters. Promotion was minimal. One Radio Times article by a journalist who hadn't seen it. The debut drew under 2 million. Not terrible, but hardly a juggernaut. What the numbers missed was how profoundly the farce would land once word of mouth kicked in. Clay later said only ad money kept him writing at the necessary intensity. The payoff was delayed but definitive. The ensemble and crew were fearless. Ballard, Berkeley's Major, is dawdhery, dirty, and somehow touching. Decades earlier, he'd shared a flat with Cary Grant. Then Archie Leach, Bob Spears, who directed Series 2. Started in the 1960s as a floor assistant on Doctor Who, and decades later, helmed Spice World, 1997. The physical comedy came at a cost, especially for Andrew Sachs's. In The Germans, Manuel's flame-soaked jacket used smoke chemicals that burned Sachs's arm, so badly it turned plum red. The BBC paid $700, a little over $1,000 in damages. In The Wedding Party, Basil clocks Manuel with a saucepan. They'd rehearsed it safely all week, but during one take, Cle's glancing blow turned direct when Sachs straightened, leaving him with a 2-day headache. Sachs never publicly complained. The scenes read as hilarious because they were played and sometimes felt with painful realism. Cleese and Booth were married during Series 1 and divorced in 1978, before Series 2 finished. They remained professional for their daughter Cynthia, and for the work and the writing stayed razor sharp. Decades on, talk of a revival